You're at a party, or a family dinner, or sitting with your friends. Everyone is laughing, everyone is talking, and somewhere in the middle of all that noise, you disappear. Not physically. You're still there, still nodding, still smiling at the right moments, but inside there's this quiet feeling that nobody in this room actually knows you. And the worst part? You can't explain it to anyone. Because how do you tell someone you feel lonely when you're literally surrounded by people? If that feeling is familiar, stay with me. Because this isn't about being antisocial. This isn't about being broken. There is something specific happening inside your mind that most people will never understand. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand yourself in a way nobody ever bothered to explain. Here's what nobody tells you. Loneliness has two types. There's physical loneliness, no one around you. And then there's something psychologists call existential loneliness. People everywhere, but nobody truly sees you. Most people only know the first kind. But you? You've been living with the second kind for years, maybe your whole life. And here's what makes it harder. You probably look completely fine from the outside. People think you're doing great. You show up. You function, you hold conversations, but inside there's a version of you that hasn't been seen in a very long time, maybe ever. In 2019, a study by researchers at the University of California found something remarkable. People who reported feeling lonely in social situations weren't lacking social skills. They weren't shy or awkward. In fact, many of them were highly perceptive, deeply empathetic, and emotionally intelligent. The problem wasn't that they couldn't connect. The problem was that they could feel the difference between real connection and surface-level interaction. And most conversations never went deep enough. Think about it this way. Imagine you speak a language that only a few people in the world understand. You can learn to communicate in other languages. You can get by. But the moment someone finally speaks your language, you feel it instantly. That relief, that recognition, that's what you've been waiting for your whole life. Not more people, the right people. But here's where it gets complicated. Because of this feeling, you probably developed a habit, a very specific and very exhausting habit. You became a performer. Not on a stage, in real life, in every room you walked into. You learned exactly how much to share and how much to hide. You learned which version of yourself makes people comfortable. You learned how to be present without actually being present. And you got so good at it that sometimes you forget who you actually are underneath all of that. Psychologists call this emotional masking, and research shows it is one of the most draining things a human being can do. Because every time you hide yourself to fit in, your nervous system registers it as a threat. Your body knows you're not safe enough to be real, and it stays on guard, all day, every day. That's why you come home exhausted after social situations, not because you're weak, because you've been working twice as hard as everyone else just to exist in that room. Now here's the part most people get wrong. They think the solution is to just open up more, be more vulnerable, put yourself out there. But psychology says something different. The problem isn't that you're closed off. The problem is that you've been putting yourself in rooms where being open wasn't safe. You learned early, maybe in childhood, maybe in a friendship that went wrong, maybe in a family where feelings weren't welcome, that showing the real you had consequences. So you adapted. You built walls not because you wanted to keep people out, but because letting people in had hurt you before. And here's the truth that might be uncomfortable to hear. Some of those walls are still protecting you, but some of them are now keeping out the very people who could actually see you. There's a concept in psychology called mirror neurons. When two people are truly connecting, their brain activity literally starts to synchronize. Their breathing slows, their nervous systems calm. There is a biological reason why real connection feels like relief. You haven't felt that often, maybe a handful of times in your life.
But you remember every single one of those moments because your body recognized something it had been missing. That's not a coincidence. That's your brain telling you what it actually needs. So what do you do with all of this? First, understand this. Feeling alone in a crowd doesn't mean you are unlovable. It doesn't mean you are too much or too complicated or too broken to connect. It means your standard for connection is higher than most, and that is not a flaw, that is a filter. Second, stop performing. Not all at once, but start small. Let one person see one real thing about you, not your highlight reel, not your put-together version, something true, and watch what happens. Third, find your language. The people who speak it exist. They are probably sitting somewhere right now feeling exactly what you feel. Feeling alone in a room full of people, waiting for someone real to show up.
You were never too much. You were just in rooms that were too small for everything you are. The loneliness you feel isn't proof that nobody wants you. It's proof that you refuse to settle for a connection that isn't real. And that's not a weakness. That's the whole point of you. If this video describes something you've never been able to put into words before, drop a quiet "same" in the comments. You'll find your people there. And if you know someone who always seems fine, but you suspect carries this feeling, share this with them. They'll know exactly why you sent it.